Go.
Mike Krivka at CrossFit Koncepts here in Gatesburg, Maryland. I'm with HKC Teresa Solomon, and she is here to help me demonstrate the Renegade Row. So the Renegade Row is one of those exercises you can YouTube and you can say, oh wow, this is a lot of fun. And it is a lot of fun if you understand what you're trying to accomplish. So if you imagine the Renegade Row is a very, very, very advanced plank. Okay, so you have to be able to plank first from your hands. Then you got to be able to plank and then change your hands out. Okay, now when you see most people do the Renegade Row, it's going to look something like this. So Teresa's going to demonstrate it incorrectly first. So now we have her using two different size kettlebells, mostly for safety because I want as wide a base as possible, especially when she does it wrong, so she doesn't fall over, okay? But the wider base makes it much more stable and much safer for the client. Don't worry about what they're pulling. Make sure their base is very, very solid. Okay, she's going to start from here. She gets over top of the kettlebells. Make sure the person is loaded over top of their hand. Okay, now watch. She's going to start from here. She's going to be rowing with the right hand, okay? She's going to make this big over shift of her hips to the side, and then she's going to pull. And then put it back down. Okay, now, once again, big over shift of the hips, and then she pulls. Okay, now, there's the other part, okay, where the person just picks it up and they drop it and slam it on the ground. Okay, go relax a second. This should be a grind. It should be very, very slow, very, very controlled. The kettlebell should be pried off the ground slowly, brought back to the hip, and then put down once again. And you shouldn't see this big overt adjustment of the hip, okay? What I call an external overt adjustment as opposed to an internal covert adjustment. So let's look at the same exercise, that same exact movement with an internal covert adjustment. So once again, watch. She loads up really well, over top of the kettlebells. This is very, very tight. She's already pushing down. She's whole body is tight. She makes this very, very tight adjustment inside her body, and she pulls and rows to her hip. And then down slowly again. One more time, very, very slowly. She pulls and then back up. Okay, now, so what you're going to see a lot of times is your client's going to want to try to move. So what you want to do is grab them and hold their hips and have them turn a row from there. Pull, and it stops them cold. Relax. Okay, so what happens is if they're not used to making that internal adjustment, okay, and you stop their hips, they can't move at all, which is a good lesson, okay? What that's going to show them is they want to minimize that adjustment as opposed to making it a really big adjustment. Okay, so once again, now, doing the Renegade Row, you've got to be in a plank. So one thing you want to think about is, when you start your clients out or you start your athletes doing the Renegade Row, can they do this first? Can they start here and change their hands? Okay, now, can they do that smoothly? Or is there lots of, crazy adjustments going on? Their hips are shifting from side to side, their shoulders are pulling back. You've got to stay tight as a plank. Now, when you unload one hand, you're changing the balance on one side of the body. So that tension that you have to have has to become internal. Now, once again, YouTube what I'm talking about. You're going to see a lot of guys doing this Renegade Row with this big shift of the hips to offload that one side so they can pull. That is a lot easier. As opposed to making it easier, let's make it harder. Let's make it much more so that you have to create that internal tension so you can learn to develop that on your own. Okay, so here's the Renegade Row should look like with a little heavier kettlebell. Once again, notice that it's really slow, it's really controlled. I'm trying to pull the elbow back as opposed to the hand. The tendency when you pull the hand up into the armpit, you're not going to get the row you want to look for. As you row through your pull the elbow back, let the hand go naturally to the hip, where it's going to be much more stable. So take a look at the Renegade Row again. It's a great exercise. It's the rows, this pulling exercise is not used enough, not developed enough. You have a lot of development issues in the backside of the body if you don't do enough rows. This is a great way to develop it, and it's a lot of fun when it comes to developing tension. Thanks a lot.